All right. Looks like we have about 30 people in the webinar right now. I'm going to go ahead and get started here, and I think a few more people are probably going to trickle in the next few minutes, but we'll kick this off. So welcome, everybody. My name is Kyle. I'm the CTO here at A-Team, and you are attending the How to Manage OKRs at Scale webinar. So hopefully everybody's in the right place, and hopefully everybody's having a great day and looking forward to learn a little bit about OKRs, and in particular, how to actually manage OKRs in practice, manage them at scale within your organization, and how to use software to do that. Hopefully it's not a spoiler here that as the CTO, I believe strongly in technology and software, and I think one of the best ways to do anything at scale tends to be through software-based workflows. And so that's what we do here at A-Team. We are dedicated OKR goals management software as a service. And so we've built a platform specifically catering to OKRs, goals management, conversations, feedback, and recognition. And we think it's the best way to manage OKRs within any mid-size or larger business. So first of all, let's just kind of go over an agenda as people are trickling in about what we're going to cover in the next maybe 40 minutes to an hour, depending on how many questions there are. And of course, if you guys have questions at any time, feel free to stop me, and I'll leave some time at the end for questions as well. So first of all, we're going to cover how software helps unlock the superpowers of OKRs at scale within organizations. And again, this is a very practical webinar. It's not really an OKR 101, business school training. It's intended for users and companies who have been doing OKRs for a little while and who want to be able to do it at scale. I've got a question here. So again, OKRs, objectives and key results. This is a goals management philosophy. Came out of Intel. Google's used it really successfully. John Doerr just released a book about it called Measure What Matters. He did that. That was released, I think, in May. And so I think a lot of people are starting to get interested in OKRs, getting ready to adopt them. And the next step after you've kind of learned about them is, well, how do you actually roll this out in your organization? And that's where I think software really helps you do that at scale. And so we'll talk about the practical implementation from the planning and alignment phase to the collaboration check-in phase, and finally how you track and report on OKRs within your organization. And I'll be stopping this presentation at various points and be going into the A-Team product itself to give you guys a taste for like what this looks like in an actual product. I'll be using a demo environment, so some fake dummy data. As with any technology demo, there's always going to be a few hiccups, so bear with me if anything goes wrong, but hopefully it's smooth sailing for us. So to start out here, I wanted to take a little poll, and I'll do that through GoToWebinar here. I just want to know from everybody, what's your experience using OKRs right now? So I should have just sent out a poll to everybody. Do you guys have a lot of experience with OKRs? Are you just getting started? Maybe you've done it for one quarter and you're trying to improve. Are you just exploring OKRs for the first time, hoping to learn a little bit more about them? I'm really hoping nobody falls into that last bucket there where you've never heard of OKRs. If so, this webinar might be a little bit confusing for you to follow along with. So, getting a lot of good responses here. So it looks like the majority of people, looks like almost 45%. I'll leave this open for a few more seconds here. Okay, a few more answers trickling in. Looks like the overwhelming majority of people on this webinar, though, are falling into buckets B and C. So either you guys have some experience, you're still learning how to use them effectively, or you have a little bit of experience and you're just starting out, or you're about to start an OKR program. And that's perfect. I think that software is going to be most effective if you fall into buckets A or B. It's also extremely effective if you're just starting out. Although I will offer a caveat there, which is that, depending on your company size and depending on how comfortable you are with technology in general, it may not be best to jump straight into an OKR platform. It might be better to try OKRs kind of pen and paper version, through Google Docs or through Microsoft Word and Excel. Do that for a quarter, maybe just with one team, one department, or your executive team, and then transition into dedicated OKR software. But if you are comfortable with technology and you do think that you do have the executive buy-in to make OKRs really successful, then I do, there are great ways to do a progressive rollout plan, even with software like A-Team, where you will, start out with just your executive team, and then slowly in the next quarter, you'll add maybe more mid-level managers. And by the third quarter of using OKRs, you've rolled out software to your entire company. And that can be really effective too. That way you don't have to go through this transition where you're managing OKRs in Excel at first, and then you have to migrate all that data into software. It could be a little bit easier to do a phased rollout plan in dedicated OKR software. So yeah, it looks like the final results on the poll are that, about 41% of the attendees right now have some experience, 37% with little experience, 20% with no experience. So that's great. This webinar should be right up your guys' alley. It should provide you with a lot of useful information on how to roll out OKRs in a practical manner using software. So next slide here. This is about software unlocking the superpowers of OKRs at scale. So first of all, what are those superpowers? What am I referring to here? I'm talking about the superpowers that John Doerr lists in his book, Measure What Matters. Again, you might hear me refer to this book, Measure What Matters, a few times here. I'm not sure how many people have read it. If you have not, I definitely recommend that you Google it, look it up on Amazon, pick it up. It's a great read. It's a pretty quick read. It's very practical, a lot of practical business advice, a lot of great case studies, not just from technology companies, but from nonprofits like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And it talks about like how Intel created OKRs and how Google adopted them and used that to drive its tremendous growth. So it's a great book. But in that book, John Doerr talks about these 4 superpowers that OKRs unlock for companies. And so these 4 superpowers are: 1, they help companies focus and commit to priorities. 2, they help companies align and connect for teamwork. 3, track for accountability. And 4, stretch for amazing. The first 3 are really where software makes a big impact here, because having a dedicated OKR platform allows you to focus on just what's important. It allows you to visualize some of these alignments and to create this collaborative environment where teamwork thrives. And of course, tracking and reporting is really easy when you do this in software. The fourth one here, stretch for amazing. That's something that requires a little bit more of a cultural change within your organization, not something that software can really force you to do. So some companies will, John Doerr recommends that you have a mixture of aspirational OKRs, aspirational goals, and then some goals which are a little bit more project-based, maybe task-based. You don't want to turn into task management, but not everything could be a giant moonshot. You're not trying to revolutionize the world with every single one of your goals. Some of them might just be revenue goals or completing a certain project. So you have a mixture of these. But he does recommend, and we recommend, that you have some goals that are a little bit aspirational, and that's what Stretch for Amazing is about. But again, that's a cultural thing, and that's an internal decision you have to make within your own company about whether goals are very by the book and practical, or whether some of your goals are very aspirational, kind of moonshot-oriented goals. So let's take a step further, though, and talk about how do you actually unlock these superpowers in practice? And again, I keep on harping on this, the practical application of OKRs, because I'm sure based on everybody's experience level in that poll, it sounds like everybody has a general knowledge of OKRs, from like a business book summary understanding of OKRs. But maybe everybody wants to take the next level, the next step, and understand OKRs implementation and how you actually roll this out in your company. So what we see that works best, and we've seen this throughout all of our customers at A-Team, is that you kind of go through 4 phases, and it's a process. You start developing this OKR life cycle within your company. So you're going to start out, and this is either you're starting out for the first time doing OKRs, or you're just maybe starting a new quarter or a new year with new goals. And you're going to start out by planning and aligning goals across your company. Then once you've agreed to those and you've aligned everybody, you're going to, of course, collaborate on those goals and check in on them regularly throughout the quarter. You're going to want to track and report on those goals. And this is where management comes in and can help keep goals on track. And then at the end of the quarter, you're going to do a little retrospective. You're going to want to iterate and improve. So, in this next slide right here, this is just more information. Again, these slides will be available after the presentation for anybody who wants them. But one thing I wanted to point out here on this slide is that A-Team is obviously not the only OKR management platform. There's a lot of great products in this space. We all have our pros and our cons. And so there's websites like OKRsoftware.com where you can compare them. That's one that we actually run, and we collaborate with some of our competition actually to make sure that everybody's profile on that site is up to date. But if you guys are interested in what the pros and cons, advantages and disadvantages of various platforms are, you can go to OKR Software Compare and check that out. And of course, if you have not read Measure What Matters, I recommend, well, first of all, I recommend that you buy the book on Amazon and read it. But if you want a quick kind of Cliff Notes summary of it, we also have that on our website. All right, so let's jump into this. So planning and alignment. How do you launch an OKR program successfully for the first time, or how do you do it for the next quarter, the next year? The first question that I always get is, whenever I'm talking to customers and they're starting out for the first time, they say, how do we do alignment? Should this be top-down alignment? Should the executive team and managers determine all the goals? Or should this be bottom-up? Should we get frontline managers and employees to create their own goals and align them up the chain? And the answer here is actually, it's a bit of both. So when you're first getting started, obviously some of your top corporate goals are going to come from your company's vision. The purpose of doing OKRs, the purpose of setting goals, is to get everybody in the company aligned on what you're trying to achieve as an organization. So, of course, company vision is going to inform your goals. You're also going to probably take your strategy, your roadmap, and boil that into some top corporate goals at the CEO level. So here you have this is showing basically this transforming your strategic pillars of your company into top corporate goals. And here's where we're going to jump into a little bit more of the interactive phase of this webinar. And I'm going to switch from slides over into the A-Team application itself. So hopefully everybody can now see, I'm here in the demo environment, one of our demo environments for A-Team. And basically you're looking at what we call the alignment chart, which is similar to the slide that you just saw. This is a visual representation of the goals hierarchy within your organization. So you see here at the top corporate level, we have 4 goals. And I kind of want to walk you through a user story of how managers might go about, how an executive team might go about rolling out OKRs, and then how to transition that down lower in the organization. So first of all, you're going to take your strategic pillars and you're going to convert them into top corporate goals. And then you're probably going to have a management executive leadership meeting where you start going, department by department, talking to your VP of sales, VP of marketing, and figuring out what they want to accomplish in the quarter and how those relate back to the top corporate goals. So for instance, here we have this top corporate goal. We want to grow the business, pretty generic, but specifically, how does sales contribute? Well, sales has to hit 30 million in sales. That's a revenue target. How does product contribute? Well, we got to improve the product to grow upsell. So each department here is getting involved, and this is a very top-down executive leadership team driven planning. And so imagine during this meeting, you're the VP of marketing, you're Mary Martin here, and you want to, so you're talking with the team and you determine that marketing's goal is going to be to help the sales team hit the revenue target. So this is great. We're identifying here as part of the planning process, we're identifying cross dependencies between functions, cross dependencies between departments, and the leadership team is aligning and getting on the same page internally. So the way that software really helps here is you could obviously put all these goals on the whiteboard, write them down in some Word document, even put them in Excel maybe. But what software really does is make alignment not only visual, but it makes it really easy to identify these dependencies and then connect the goals themselves. So for Mary, she's determined in the executive meeting, Mary as VP of marketing is determined she's going to help the sales team hit the revenue target. So she's going to go in here and she's going to align her goal to the sales goal. So we find the sales department, we find this hit 30 million in sales, and we can align it. And then if we jump back over to the alignment chart itself, and we want to drill down here, we want to visualize that alignment. Well, this is where the software really shines. And this is something that's hard to do if you're just documenting this in your own Excel spreadsheet or your own Word document. You now see that this sales department goal is driven by some team goals from other sales team, but it's also driven by the marketing goal that we just aligned here. So now you see that you've got this alignment, cross-functional alignment from marketing to sales, and it's all driving this top corporate goal. So that's the top-down view. And then what about the bottom-up view of goals? So let's look at, what would happen is, Mary, she would go back, she's VP of marketing, she would go back to her entire marketing team and she'd work with the managers. And here's Paula, she's a online ads and SEO manager. So Mary and Paula are having a one-on-one meeting or a team meeting, and they're saying, okay, Paula, how do you contribute to what we're trying to accomplish? And they determine that, this is more of the bottom-up planning. It's getting the frontline managers, the employees involved, and saying like, okay, so what are you going to be working on? How are you going to contribute to what the department's trying to accomplish and ultimately what the company is trying to accomplish? So Paula, she proposed, okay, well, I'm going to improve our ads and our organic search. And what does that actually mean? Well, I'm going to improve it as measured by these key results. Of course, key results in the OKR methodology are measurements. They're measurable, they're quantifiable. There's something that determine whether or not the objective has been met. So what do you want to accomplish? Paula wants to accomplish improving ads and organic search. And as measured by, how will we determine that she will accomplish that? Well, Paula is going to she's going to work with Mary and determine, well, let's create 5 or 4 key results here that will measure progress towards this objective. So we got that, and then again, alignment comes in, but this time it's not so much top-down executive leadership level alignment. It's from Paula herself, and maybe she says, okay, I'm going to align to my manager Mary's goal to help the sales team hit the revenue target, because that's what marketing's trying to do, and I'm a component of the marketing team. Therefore, that's how I align with what the organization is trying to accomplish. And again, if we drill down another level here in our visual alignment chart, we're going to be able to see how there's Paula, there's her goal. That's how she contributes here. So again, we could visualize all these different levels of the organization, this top down and this bottom up of how everything aligns. And, it takes these frontline managers, these individual employees, the work that they're doing, it connects them all the way up through the organization to the really high level goals that the business is trying to achieve. A certain OKR software will actually do this a little bit differently. Not some software has this kind of visual alignment, others have more tabular format, maybe more like Excel or something like that. We actually in A-Team, we have both views of it. We'll see the more tabular view of it a little bit later. This is more the visual hierarchical view of alignment. And then the progress again in A-Team is driven very algorithmically, such that the progress at each level is just the average of the contribution. So if you average all of these, 16%, 16.25, 11, 10, that's how you get that 14.45, and then all the way back up the chain. So, and a different software will calculate that differently. And again, that's where it goes back to the pros and cons of OKR software. But across the board, almost all OKR software will give you this ability to visualize alignments, to create these alignments, because that's something that's really difficult to do if you're just rolling your own homegrown solution, whether that's an Excel spreadsheet, some sort of Word document or something like that. It's hard. It's okay. You could do planning in a Word document, but it's really hard to do alignment, and it's really hard to visualize that alignment. Okay. At this point, I'm going to jump back into the slideshow real quick. So again, we just went over alignment, planning, and alignment. So that's really the first phase. When you're rolling out an OKR program, you're going to start with some sort of planning. Like I said, probably start with a little bit of top-down planning connected to your strategic plan as a company. But then at some point, you're going to have your managers go out and talk to employees about how they actually contribute to those plans. Maybe employees' own objectives. Maybe they just contribute via key results. There's a lot of different ways to do that. But the idea is that you have this mixture of top down and bottom up, but you should be able to visualize and you should be able to create these alignments up and down the organization. So the next phase is, okay, you've got everything planned, you've got everything aligned, it looks great, but how do you execute? How do you actually connect the activity that your employees and managers are doing day to day with the results? Because it's not enough for them to just be doing activity, to be doing work. The whole point of the OKR methodology is to make sure that they're working on the right things, that everybody's rowing in the right direction. And so your executives can create this amazing hierarchy of goals and show every function, every department how it contributes. But ultimately, the executives aren't the one doing all that work. They can't accomplish all those goals. It comes down to the people on the ground to make that happen. And so even if you're perfectly aligned, you need to connect your daily activity of your employees and your managers to this amazing hierarchy of alignment to all of these OKRs. So here we have Andy Grove of Intel fame. He's basically the grandfather maybe of OKRs. He took the MBO philosophy, management by objectives, and tweaked it to suit the Intel culture. And it eventually became known as OKRs, objectives and key results. And here he is with a quote saying that the key is to set and check in on goals frequently. So the important thing here is that you can't just have goals that are just static, that just live on a spreadsheet somewhere. They need to be living, breathing. They need to, employees and managers need to be interacting, checking in on these goals frequently. You need to create a culture around OKRs and check-ins. But beyond just OKRs, there's actually a larger trend within continuous performance management about regular check-ins, regular feedback. And there's a ton of great case studies, analysis done around the fact that organizations and managers who provide regular check-ins or regular feedback to their employees, do regular one-on-ones, have regular conversations, do regular check-ins on their employees' performance, and recognize when a job is well done. Those managers have the most satisfied employees and the most engaged employees. I'm seeing someone saying they just lost the audio. If anybody else is having that issue, I hope it's done on my end. Let me know though if anybody else is losing audio. I will continue in the meantime though. So what I was saying is that lots of studies showing that regular check-ins, employee and manager check-ins, regular feedback, recognition, all of these things drive employee engagement, and ultimately studies are showing that more engaged employees, a more engaged workforce will actually result in higher performance, not just for the employees, not just lower attrition rates and higher employee satisfaction, but it ultimately drives higher performance across the business, which is one of the reasons you guys are probably all here looking at OKRs in the first place. So, not only is conversation feedback and recognition important for OKRs, but it's just broadly important no matter what sort of management style you're using, what sort of goal setting methodology you're using. But John Doerr, in his book, Measure What Matters, he does hone it. He devotes the entire second half of this book to what he calls CFRs, conversations, feedback, and recognition. And while those are great alone, they are absolutely amazing when you pair them with OKRs, because it's great to have continuous conversations between employees and managers, to check in on employees, to give feedback, to recognize good work. But what's really great is when you tie that recognition, you tie that feedback back to the goals that your employees are trying to accomplish, because that's the way you create this connection between the work that's happening every day and the ultimate company big objectives that you're trying to achieve. So it's a way that you show employees how they connect and contribute to the company's mission. And again, this is where software can help with this. And actually, I think this is the biggest area where OKR software, dedicated OKR software, really, really stands out to help build the habit around OKRs. Because if you're in a mid-size or larger organization, one of the biggest struggles we hear across our customers, they ask, how do we increase adoption? How do we get employees engaged? We rolled out all this great hierarchy of aligned goals, but then we're not getting regular check-ins. It feels like we're always having to track down employees and managers and remind them, hey, we have OKRs over in this software. You need to use it. And that's a huge problem if you only have Excel spreadsheets that you're passing around, or if you have some Google Docs or something that you're sharing. It's a really big problem to try to get people to check in on those. So this is where software can really help, because dedicated OKR software has user experience and workflows that are specific to OKRs. We have things like notifications that can ping employees where they're already working, whether that's sending them emails, pinging them in Slack, reminding them to check in, reminding managers that they have OKRs to review, reminding managers to provide feedback to their employees. Dedicated software also allows you to focus on the OKRs that you own. So instead of looking at a gigantic spreadsheet full of OKRs that may have nothing to do with you, that may be for a different department entirely. You can just focus on the OKRs that you own or that you contribute to. And of course, dedicated software allows you to centralize all these conversations and feedback. That way, you get to a performance review cycle and you're not having to track down a million different documents that you've kept stowed away in Dropbox or in Google Drive or something. You have them all centralized in your OKR management platform. And you have a kind of single source of truth that shows not only the performance of the employees on their goals, but also the conversations and feedback that were going on throughout the year, throughout the quarter, that help drive that progress. Okay, so we're going to jump again into the A-Team product. And this time, I want to show you a little bit about these CFRs, these conversations, feedback, and recognition. And in A-Team, we call that pulse. So we have this one-on-one pulse. It's a manager and employee pulse, but it's really, again, we think that conversation and feedback and recognition are best when they are paired and tightly coupled with OKRs, because that way the feedback conversation, it's related to the goals that the employees are trying to achieve, and that's ultimately what drives alignment and performance. So here we have a check-in. I'm actually signed in here as the VP of Sales. So Joshua here reports directly to the CEO, and we have weekly check-ins. So every week Joshua's going to get notified via email or maybe via Slack if he has that configured instead. Hey, you got a check-in due on Friday. Joshua is going to come in here. He's going to see all of the objectives and or key results that he owns, and he can update them on the fly. He can provide notes. I'm falling behind for these reasons, something that a manager can see. Again, the focus here is on just the results that Joshua owns, so he's not overwhelmed with information that's not relevant to him. And the manager can also ask some of these one-on-one feedback questions like, how's your progress going? What are your plans for next week? Any blockers, any obstacles that I can help you overcome? And so this creates a regular cadence. This builds the OKR habit, and it makes OKRs a living, breathing part of the company culture, because every week, it doesn't take a ton of time. Hopefully we like to say this is a 5-minute, you spend 5 minutes a week checking in, and that's all an employee needs to keep OKRs accurate and up to date. So it's not a huge time investment, but software helps to remind them to do it, and it helps the UX and the workflows help to make it really simple and streamlined so that they can get in and out and then back to their day job, because most employees don't want another tool that they have to keep open in a browser tab. They've got enough of that going on. And then from the manager point of view, again, this is where we centralize all this feedback. We centralize all these conversations so managers can review them all at once, and managers can also provide recognize employees for doing great work and provide feedback on the work they're doing. So again, Joshua, I'm still signed in as Joshua. He's the VP of Sales. So not only is he an employee, he reports to the CEO, but he's also a manager. So in this case, in this demo environment that we have, Joshua has 2 employees, and we can look back at a prior check-in. And we see here, Fred is one of Joshua's employees, sales director of the West region. And Joshua can look at Fred's check-in. Fred updated some key results this week. Joshua can provide that recognition, great job, and share this with other people. He can flag some follow-ups if there's anything he needs to follow up with Fred on in person, provide comments, things like that. And again, all of this information is centralized. All of this information is aggregated over time. It makes it really easy when you do get to that performance review cycle, whether you're doing that, semi-annually or annually. You have all of this information. You have this train of management interactions that are happening in real time during the year, and you have all that historical data all centralized in one place. So that's this is the conversations, feedback, and recognition, the CFRs, as John Doerr refers to them in Measure What Matters. So you should be seeing the slideshow again here. All right, so we were talking about how we build the OKR habit through collaboration and frequent check-ins. What about how do you track and report on OKRs? So a big superpower is tracking and accountability, making sure that things are on track and recognizing when things are off track ahead of time, ahead of the end of the quarter, so that you can correct them. It's no good if you're just doing a check-in at the very end of the quarter And that's when you first realize, oh, hey, we didn't achieve this key result we were trying to achieve. There's nothing you can do about it at that point. So really, a good OKR, dedicated OKR software is going to have real-time tracking, is going to take those check-ins that are happening regularly, and is going to convert them into good visualizations, good reports that managers and executives and leadership can use to help coach, to help manage, and to help course correct. So again, software helps you track and report at multiple levels. You don't have a giant spreadsheet, again, where you have a bunch of different levels all combined. You don't have multiple spreadsheets maybe for different teams. You have built-in querying and filtering. You have those built-in visualizations. And hopefully if the OKR software is doing its job right, it's not just inundating you with data, it's giving you actionable views of data. So that's a big, internally in A-Team, we talk about that a lot with our design team, with our product team, is that, whenever we're going to do a new visualization or whenever we're going to show a new piece of data to our users, we don't want to just throw data at users. We want to give them actionable data. We want to give them data that helps them be better managers, be better leaders, get everybody in the organization aligned, and to pinpoint problems so that they can help course correct. So let me jump into another user story in the A-Team application itself. So this is one of my favorites. As CTO, this is something I deal with every week. Here we go. Should be sharing my A-Team screen again. I want to take us over here to our Objective Explorer. So I call this use case the Monday morning report. So picture yourself, you're on the executive leadership team. You got the CEO, you got all your department heads in one meeting, and you want to know. You're just checking in. Every CEO has a Monday morning meeting every Monday to check in on the state of the business. So the CEO says, okay, let's look at all the departments and let's see if anybody's falling behind, because we want to pinpoint areas that we can improve, we can course correct right now. So you go through, you're going to say, okay, I want to filter at risk and behind objectives. And boom, you got a quick view right here showing that pinpoints just those department objectives that are either at risk or behind. And actually this first one you'll notice is that marketing department objective that we were aligning a little bit earlier. So you're sitting in this meeting, and of course the first thing the CEO is going to ask is, why is this behind? So Mary, as the marketing VP of marketing, you could drill down and she could say, okay, well, we have 3 contributing objectives on our team that are driving the progress of this overall marketing department objective. And it looks like Anthony and Paula are on track. That's great. But it looks like Will's a little bit behind. Not super behind. It's still the beginning of Q4, so he's a little bit off target. And then you start having conversations in this Monday morning meeting about, okay, why is Will behind? If this might be information that you pass along to the manager, depending on how many levels of management you have in your organization. Maybe you pass off this information to the manager. You ask the manager to bring back a report, or maybe Mary as the VP can just talk to Will directly. But you might say, maybe Will isn't focused. Maybe he has too many things going on. OKRs are about focus. They work best when you have only a few key results or objectives that you own and are accountable for, because otherwise you get distracted by too many priorities. So let's drill down into Will and just see what's Will working on right now. First thing you see here is it doesn't look like he has too much stuff. So we're looking at Will's profile, and we see that right now he's got 2 key results that he's responsible for. Probably not too much. There's actually probably the right amount of level for right amount of detail for an individual contributor is maybe 1 objective, 2 key results, 5 key results, something like that. So it doesn't seem to be a problem with too many distractions, loss of focus, loss of priorities. So next question is like, well, maybe the reason why this looks like it's behind, why this generate 5,000 leads looks like it's behind, it isn't because he hasn't done it. Maybe he just hasn't checked in on it. So again, this is where those actionable views of data come in. So we have this other view, which is an engagement report, which kind of tells you how engaged your employees are and how often they're checking in, things like that. So let's look at the engagement report here for the marketing team. And it's actually a little bit bare because, again, this is some demo data. But the first thing you notice, we come down here and there's Will. Looks like he hasn't logged in since July. Again, this is completely fake data. So if we're in Q4 and he really hasn't logged in since July, that's probably a big red flag right there. And it's going to raise questions about how he even has any progress whatsoever. But, this is a quick way that you could start identifying which employees are logging into the system, which employees are doing updates, completing their check-ins week to week, which managers are reviewing those check-ins and having the conversations with employees, because again, that feedback's so important. You want to make sure your managers are doing that regularly. And so since this data is a little bit bare here in the demo data set, I'll show you the so sales department. This is a little bit more realistic maybe. In this case, you have, again, Joshua, who I'm signed in on. He, VP of Sales, looks like he last signed in, well, November 6th today. And it looks like Kelly and Fred on his team, they were signed in a couple days ago. And if you notice here, we have a report on like how often are the employees checking in. So you can tell, well, the sales department is really healthy. You have timely check-ins for the last 4 weeks for every member of the sales department. And then you also notice, as an executive team, if you were going through this in your Monday morning meeting, you might, as a CEO, help out and coach your VP of Sales and say, hey, notice your employees are checking in every week. That's great, but your review rate is only 50%. You're only reviewing 1 out of every 2 check-ins. So, again, CEO can help coach there, or any manager can help coach and say, hey, you probably should be having more continuous, more regular feedback and check-ins, reviews for your employee check-ins, because that helps keep your team engaged. So again, this was the engagement report, and it's a way that we could pinpoint exactly why an employee or a department might be falling behind. You can identify whether or not they're engaged, whether they're doing check-ins, whether they're doing reviews. And then finally, stepping back into that scenario of that Monday morning meeting, not only do you want to identify what the problems are, so the software helps you identify across your organization what's falling behind and helps you kind of maybe helps you diagnose that, at least gives you some questions to ask in person to your managers or to your employees. It also helps to to highlight how those at-risk or behind objectives impact the rest of your goals, the rest of your hierarchy. So for instance, here we can click right into the alignment chart, and we're immediately brought back to the screen that you guys saw a little bit earlier that shows alignment throughout the organization. Again, this was actually one of those goals that we aligned earlier. And so now you see that what is the implication of one of your teams or one of your employees falling behind? And now in your Monday morning staff meeting, you can start seeing these connections. You can start saying, well, oh, look, if Will's not generating enough leads, then as a marketing department, we're probably not going to be able to help the sales team hit their revenue target. If the sales team doesn't have enough leads, can't hit the revenue target, their goal fails. And if their goal fails, we're probably not going to grow the business like we hope to. So again, you start identifying all of these cross dependencies. You get everybody focused on what's most important for the business at this point in time. And maybe this is a point where the CEO can dedicate more resources to marketing, because the CEO now realizes, oh, wow, that yes, I was just tracking this 30 million in sales, but I didn't realize that in order for that to work, I have to address this problem over in marketing. So it really highlights the dependencies across your organization and helps you focus and execute on what matters the most. So again, actionable insights, actionable data, that's the key to managing OKRs at scale. And one of the first things you run into with scale is too much data, too much information overload. And so any good OKR dedicated software will help you pinpoint and focus on just the most important things, just the things that you as managers, you as leaders need to take action on. All right, switching back again into the slideshow. We're going to move on to the kind of the last step in rolling out an OKR program successfully across your organization. So we talked about, first you have to plan and align, then you have to have regular collaboration check-ins, as well as tracking and reporting week to week, month to month on your progress, identifying areas that are falling behind and helping address those problems before you get to the end of the quarter. But what happens when you do get to the end of the quarter? Well, that's the point when you look at, how can we learn? How can we improve? This is where you hold your quarterly or annual retrospective on the OKR process. And OKRs really are all about continuous learning, continuous improvement. A lot of our customers, when they first talk to us, they think that OKRs are going to be a silver bullet that immediately solves all the problems in the organization. And to be honest, it's never going to work like that in the first quarter. It's going to require a lot of management buy-in, leadership buy-in. It's going to require training for your employees. It's going to require iteration and constant improvement. And as with anything, practice makes perfect. So over time, you'll get better quarter after quarter. And again, this is an area where you can certainly practice and improve on your own without software. There's no question that you can do that and get better without software. But what does software offer that helps you do this better over time and at scale? Well, first of all, software has a really good picture of all of your historical data. So I'm not sure if you noticed in 18 when I was showing it, but we were constantly looking at the Q4 view of data. But we have data in that demo company going all the way back to 2016, I think it is. So you can really see as a leadership team how your company is improving over time with their OKRs. You can audit all those OKRs over time. You can, so this is great, not just for running the OKR program. You could also look at employees over time and see how employees have developed and how employees and managers and teams have become better at setting the right types of goals that are a little bit of a stretch but still achievable. Or if you want to be really aspirational, making sure that every quarter you have at least maybe one goal that's a little bit of a moonshot, just to kind of stretch people for that, stretch for amazing, as John Doerr would say. So you can audit all of your OKRs historically, which again, great. Like if you're doing this in your own homegrown solution where it's maybe just a bunch of Excel spreadsheets or documents, you might have folders and a bunch of files with all this information, but it's really hard to summarize that and learn from it when it's kind of all spread out amongst your teams in a bunch of different documents. So again, centralizing all this data really helps. Centralizing and then giving you the ability to filter and sort with visualizations. That becomes really powerful as you're trying to learn and improve on your OKR execution. And then the other thing that actually comes with any OKR software platform is actually not the software itself. It's the customer success, the customer support. I think almost every major OKR software company also does some sort of OKR consultation, whether that's paid or whether that's complimentary. At 18 we offer all of our customers OKR consultation for their first quarter, and we do onboarding for them. And we also offer OKR certification courses, things like that. We want to make you successful using, obviously, you're only going to want to use an OKR software platform if you're using OKR. So we help you be successful using OKRs. We help you learn how to use OKR as well and to improve over time. And of course, as a software platform, we have access to a ton of different case studies from all of our customers across various industries, a lot of data. We're able to learn from that, and our customer success team is great at summarizing that, identifying useful customer case studies that might be applicable to your business. And so you don't have to go into this without support. You go into this OKR, you launch your OKR program with the support, with the training, and with the experience that comes from managing OKRs across a variety of different companies. And so that's a kind of really valuable. It's not software that allows this, but it's the fact that software companies have access to a bunch of different companies who have done OKRs at scale. We can help mentor and advise on best practices. Okay, so again, just as a quick recap there, we've covered a lot of ground and shown some of how software works to help make OKR successful and help to actually roll out an OKR program in practice. And just I'll move back to that first slide that we're covering. We covered how you use software to plan and align goals across companies, how you can use software to collaborate and check in regularly, again, notifications, Slack, email, centralizing all that data, tracking and reporting all that data, whether it's the Monday morning meetings that you're running, whether or not you're looking historically over data from the previous quarter and comparing it to the next quarter. You can do all that with all the data centralized in one system. So that's how you unlock these superpowers that John Doerr was talking about. Again, we here at A-Team are really strong advocates, obviously, of OKR methodology. We think that it's the best way to create alignment and also engagement across your organization and help you achieve really ambitious, aspirational goals. And that's all I had. So thank you, guys. Flip this last slide here. Actually, before I even turn to questions here, I just want to mention that if you are interested in getting a proper demo of the A-Team software, I definitely would suggest that you send us an email at seeddemo@ateam.com. You'll get an actual salesperson, not the CTO, on the phone, and they'll be much better equipped to talk about OKRs, talk about your your pain points and help walk you through how OKR software might help you resolve some of those problems and drive value in your organization. So again, you can email cdemo@ateam.com if you'd like to schedule a demo, or if you would like to get a summary of Measure What Matters, they can help you out there. We can also give you some case studies, or if you do want this slide deck or this recording after this meeting, also send an email to cdemo@ateam.com. All right, thank you guys. And it looks like we have about 15 minutes left. So I'll open it up for any questions that you guys have. Let's see, I see one there. It says, will the recording be available later? Yep, as I mentioned, you can either email hello@ateam.com or cdemo@ateam.com, and we can send you over the recording from this webinar. Okay, let's see. Any questions here? Anybody? I saw a hand raised, but it went down real quick. Okay, let's see. Who has access to the executive level dashboards? So a question from Carolyn here. So one of the things that you get with, I think you're referring to the Explorer dashboard that I was showing you guys. Go back to that screen real quick. Let me actually stop the slideshow. So I think Carolyn's referring here to the Explorer dashboard. Who has access to that? One of the things that OKR software has is the ability to add permissions. So you don't need to worry about about configuring your own permissions on an Excel document or accidentally emailing a document to the wrong person. Obviously, the permissions are built right into the OKR to Ateam itself. To any OKR platform is going to have some level of permissions. In this case, the Explorer dashboard is actually available across the organization because OKRs are really about transparency. So anybody can access this, but there are restrictions on who can actually modify and align certain goals based on which team you're on or what level of admin permissions you have. Okay, some more questions here. This is great. All right, so question: how often would you encourage teams to revisit their OKRs, as teams, as individuals, as companies? So I think you're asking about revisit OKRs, like to possibly tweak them, maybe change a key result, or maybe change the wording of the objective, or change an objective entirely. For that, I would recommend that you have to have some level of commitment. So again, OKRs, don't expect it to work perfectly and completely transform your organization overnight. That's not going to happen. That's really unrealistic. What's much more realistic, and what we see with a lot of our customers, is that it takes a quarter. It takes a quarter, maybe 2 quarters, for them to really get the hang of this, especially as you roll it out to all your managers. There's going to be a different level of adoption and a different comfort level depending on your teams. Maybe your sales team is really used to metrics, right? So they're going to have a much better job of sticking to these key results. But your engineering team, maybe they're just used to code, so they're not used to being held accountable to some of these key results and things like that. So it takes a little bit longer for them to get used to it. So I would recommend that you stick to your OKRs for at least a quarter. Obviously, if you need a course correct mid-quarter, that's fine, but you probably need at least a quarter. Commit to a quarter, because that way you're not doing just day-to-day activity management. You're really trying to strive and hit these bigger goals. You don't want these goals to be too fine-grained. Another question here: can this integrate with the Sauna? So actually, Ateam does not integrate with the Sauna. If you look at that OKR comparison website that I showed you, and again, you can get the slide deck after this by emailing us. I think a few of our competitors do. It's something where different platforms will integrate with different sources. I know, like internally, one of my big things for 2019 that I'm pushing the engineering team on is to build a public API that can kind of arbitrarily integrate with any source of data. So Ateam does not, but there are certainly OKR platforms out there that do. Okay, another question here from Steven. So are check-ins CFRs in person, or can they be virtual? A little bit of both. The answer is both. So first of all, one-on-one meetings with employees and managers, I think those, as much as possible, should be in person, or at least like over a web conferencing. They should be face-to-face in some sort. Your manager should not be managing from behind a computer screen at all times. Now, the conversation feedback recognition, that portion of OKRs, that it does help to have some of that directly in the software. And not all of your conversations need to be in-person conversations. So the types of conversations that we recommend happen in a team are the ones that are kind of daily or weekly updates on goal progress or communication across teams, or just some of that feedback or recognition that you want to make public across your organization to highlight people's wins and to congratulate them on doing a good job. The one-on-one coaching, a lot of that should happen in person. Right. Got a ton of great questions here, guys. I love it. Next question here. In an Excel world, how much time would be needed to build a tracking tool for 25 plus OKRs? I'm not sure there. I think depending on how complicated you want to make it, if you want to do everything, including alignment, that could take a pretty long time. If you want to make it really robust and extensible, that'll take more time. If you just want a quick and dirty solution for 25 OKRs, you could probably get that done pretty quickly. And I think at that level, if you're just starting to adopt OKRs and you're doing 25 of them, I would absolutely recommend don't invest in something like A Team yet. At that point, practice OKRs maybe with the team, department, or your executive team, and just do those 25 in Excel. Get the hang of writing good OKRs. Get the hang of writing good key results, and start creating this culture around being data driven in your management style, and that's fine in Excel. Okay. Another question here. Actually, I think let me switch to a new one. I got a question here about good recognition package or program. So I think you're just employee recognition in general. Yeah, if you're just talking about kind of the social recognition, there's a lot of software around that. If you don't want the OKR portion, then A Team's probably not for you, because we do specialize in OKRs. So there's a lot of good stuff. I think like maybe 15.5 or Lattice come to mind as a little bit more oriented towards social feedback, 360 feedback recognition, things like that. Another question here. How do we visualize cross-functional team and cross-department OKRs and projects? Okay, so cross-functional goals, cross-functional alignment, things like that. That's a little bit of what I showed towards the beginning of the presentation during the planning and alignment phase. A couple different ways you can do that. Certainly some OKRs are going to be owned by cross-functional teams. The best example I have for that comes from product and engineering. If you've heard of like Scrum teams within product and engineering, that's a team that consists of a product owner, a couple engineers, QA, maybe a designer. So you got design team there, product team, engineering team, all on one project team. And so you might have an objective that is owned by that team. But the way we do it, we showed in A Team, the way that I showed you guys was that you can have like a marketing goal that can align horizontally to a sales department goal. So again, there's a lot of different ways you can create that alignment and visualize it. And it's just going to come down to the way the options that your particular OKR tool offers, and also how you want to structure your goals within your company. So it's really a case-by-case basis. And that's one example where I will say that the best way to figure out how to do it correctly is to practice, try it, and work with a customer success manager who has experience doing this with multiple companies and has some advice on best practices. Let's see, lots of great questions here. Let me find some more unique ones. Have you seen clients have better success with setting OKRs annually or quarterly? Both. Again, it totally depends on the individual company. It's a cultural thing, really. It's about how they like to manage, how they like to lead, and probably with their experience levels with OKRs. I'd say that right out of the gate, it's probably better to try quarterly, because you are getting used to them, and you don't want to make these huge commitments that may have to change a month in, because that doesn't look great for transparency, where you roll out this OKR program, you say, hey, we've got these grand 2019 plans, here are our 3 objectives, but then they turn out to be something you want to change because you're just not used to doing OKRs yet. I'd say like you kind of work your way up to these longer, more aspirational goals, and start with something that's a little bit more time boxed within the quarterly or monthly time period. Couple more questions here. Question on, can key results be behaviors based? Not sure exactly what that question is going for. If it's quantifiable, if it's measurable, then I'd say almost anything can be a key result. Um, I, I tend to advise against making activity-based key results. Some of our customers do that. A lot of people, so there's this big debate around the pedantic approach to OKRs is that key results they're more like milestones. They're things that signify that if you've achieved all of these milestones, you've achieved the objective. Whereas there's another approach that says make them more task-based, maybe more like a to-do list or like project management type key results. So I've seen both used. I tend to recommend the that at the company level they really be milestones, because those are going to be more aspirational type goals. And I think at the individual level, if you have individuals owning goals, they can be more behavior based. So we got a couple more minutes here. How does A-Team integrate with Slack and Gmail and Jira? How do clients use the integrations? Yeah, integrations are great. So we had the question on Asana. A-Team does not have an Asana integration. We do have Slack and email and Jira and Salesforce integration. So the Jira and Salesforce integrations are inputs to key results. So those integrations, you pull information out of Jira and or Salesforce, and you use that data to drive the progress of a key result. The email and Slack integrations are notification based and output type integrations, where we will ping you in Slack if you have a report that's due. If you have like a report to check in on, we'll ping you in Slack when one of your employees updates their objective or something like that. We'll send you an email to remind you to do your weekly check-in. All right. Is there a channel for public recognition? Yes. So all recognition in the A-Team system, it should, like with OKRs, recognition should be public. OKRs are transparent, therefore your conversations, your feedback, your recognition should be in general public. There's probably some things that should be private. And again, like one-on-one coaching and mentoring, that probably still should be private. But definitely within the A-Team product and for OKRs in general, we encourage all recognition to happen publicly in public channels and to be transparent and open. And it looks like the last question here. Is it possible to try A-Team out on a trial basis? And then if so, like what are the parameters of the trial? Great question. So for that, like I said, there's you can email cdemo@ateam.com if you'd like to get a demo on the product. Past the demo, you work with the salesperson. And if you do want to do a trial, then yes, we do typically do 30-day trials. You can try out either a trial with dummy data like you saw in my presentation, or you can do a trial that has no data, and you can start entering your own OKRs and trying those out. And then that kind of works better. If you're feeling pretty confident, then you're gonna adopt an OKR platform. It might be good to put in your own OKRs to start with, even during the trial. Okay, I think I got through all those questions. A lot of great questions. And again, guys, I know people are dropping off here. Thank you so much for your time. If you want this presentation, this recording, or if you have any questions, please reach out either at cdemo@ateam.com or hello@ateam.com. Send us a message. We'll get back to you. One of our sales people or maybe even customer success might get back to you on that. And we can answer your questions, give you a demo, provide you with more resources, case studies, that sort of thing. So thank you again for you guys' time, and have a wonderful rest of your days.